For more on all this, I'm joined by State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce. Tammy, great to have you back on the show. So,
thank you. Glad to be here.
You just heard Joe set this up. Why can't the Justice Department lawyers answer where this man is? Where is he?
Well, you know, I am the spokesperson for the State Department.
I know.
I don't speak for the Department of Justice, but I think that as Americans watch this, and there are some very basic facts here, this ruling did come down late last night. They did, of course, address the judge and tried to answer those questions. But I think the fact of the matter is that what this is revealing, and what we've noted, of course, and what people see, is that we are addressing the Supreme Court ruling. We're engaging with this, and so right now the judge has an issue with timing, but the Department of Justice knows what that ruling is, and clearly is complying with her orders and answering her questions.
Well, no, they didn't answer any of her questions. That's the point today.
Well, I think that we're at a point where we know that a facilitation has to occur. I can't speak to the legal process as it's ongoing. But what we, of course, also know that this has occurred in large part because of a commitment by the Trump administration to keep Americans safe, to deal with issues like MS-13 and other transnational gangs, and that's what we're dealing with here. But you know, the Supreme Court made itself clear, and as you heard from Caroline Leavitt earlier, that this is being facilitated, and we'll see this moving through in the days to come.
Previously, the Department of Justice had said, we can't get him back. We made a mistake, but we can't get him back because he's in El Salvador now. He's not in our custody any longer. But President Trump has a great relationship with President Bukele. He's coming to the White House on Monday. Can't he just pick up the phone and call President Bukele? We're paying, the American taxpayers are paying $6 million to El Salvador to imprison these people.
Well, you know, I think that the nature of what the president's relationship is with President Bukele, we do know it's good. He's a tremendous ally, and they are meeting, so that is a great thing that'll be happening on Monday. The conversations will be wide-ranging, I'm sure. I can't speak to them because I don't know the details. But the bottom line is that the decisions will be made, the actions will be taken. For some people, if it's not fast enough, it's a dynamic where we've got the best Department of Justice in the world. We've got an administration that is determined to make sure the American people are kept safe, and we're addressing the concerns and the order of the Supreme Court. At the same time, you do have two dynamic leaders in Trump and Bukele, and they're getting certain things done, of course, for the United States. President Bukele assisting our ability to keep Americans and America as safe as we can, and this is part of that process.
All right, I want to just switch gears now to these high-level, really high-stakes talks that begin tomorrow in Iran. Steve Witkoff is on his way there. The Trump administration is holding these talks. It's in Oman. President Trump says the talks will be direct, but Iran is saying today, no, we're going to be in two separate rooms, and an Omanian official will walk back and forth between the two rooms relaying messages. Which one is it going to be?
Well, the big news here, of course, that no one else could accomplish was getting Iran to the table. That's one thing we all can agree on, is that this is actually occurring. How it is arranged there with who's in which room, I can't speak to. We don't know that. Special Envoy Witkoff has had some tremendous success. He's an incredible envoy on these kinds of issues as we're dealing with, certainly with Iran, the largest, most egregious state sponsor of terror in the world. And yet they're at the table. They understand the power of President Trump. And to believe him when he says that it would be very bad news if they did not participate in this particular meeting. But I don't think that when it comes to what matters here is not necessarily who's in which room, but what the results are. And for me, I happen to believe the President of the United States before I'm going to believe the representatives of Iran at this point, to say the least.
The Special Envoy, Steve Witkoff, made a bit of news today when he said, we're open to compromise, that maybe Iran, our ultimate goal is no nuclear weapon, and that's our starting point, but we're willing to compromise, meaning maybe you can have nuclear power plants. That is something that Israel has said, no way, we're allowing that. We want all nuclear facilities destroyed. That would be a big thing. Is the United States open to allowing Iran to keep nuclear power plants as long as it destroys nuclear weapon sort of making facilities?
Well, you know, this is I can't speak to or speculate on what may or may not happen when and if negotiations happen. So, Elizabeth, this is a meeting. It is not a negotiation. This is to really determine if the Iranians are serious about wanting to make the change. They, of course, are on their heels now with the success of Israel, the problems with Hamas, with Hezbollah and the Houthis. So we're not even at a point yet here where we're talking about the details of a negotiation, but whether or not this terrorist regime of Iran is willing to try to do something for its own population and for their own continued existence. I mean, this is they're not exactly in a position right now to make any rules or make any demands. But Envoy Witkoff and any kind of negotiation, when and if it happens, of course, requires talking with the people at issue. And sitting down at a table, and we still have to determine if Iran is serious about that part of the framework.
It is, but it would be a big deal if we suddenly are agreeing to allow them to have nuclear power facilities, and something that obviously our closest ally in the Middle East, Israel, has a huge issue with. We'll see what happens tomorrow. It's a big deal that these talks are happening. You're correct there. I just want to switch gears one more time, if you'll allow me.
Sure.
That immigration judge in Louisiana has allowed the Trump administration to move forward with the deportation of that Columbia grad student. We heard the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, in the cabinet meeting yesterday talking about the fact that, hey, you're not allowed to visit this country and trash the place. We're going to make you leave. And in essence, his position today was validated by that judge.
It was, and this is about national security. It is the statement of the power that the Secretary of State has to make a determination that if your actions are going to interfere with our foreign policy, with our national security, that we have the power, the Secretary of State has the power to remove you. So this is something that the Secretary has argued repeatedly,
but Tammy,
has made very clear.
Tammy, how does a grad student on Columbia University's campus passing out Hamas flyers interfere with the United States of America's foreign policy?
Well, the judge that heard this case clearly believed that, in fact, the argument that was made is clear that he should be deported. And what comes up now is that there could be an appeal, of course. He remains in the country in the meantime. But this is a reminder to the American people that, you know, we can control our borders. We can determine who remains in our country. Every sovereign nation has a right to decide who's going to come in and the standard of what allows you to stay in this nation. And obviously now it's not just an assertion by the Secretary of State. This was a statement of fact about what he is allowed to do, and the judge agreed in this case, and that is what the American people look for within our system of justice. And now we've got it, and it's good news for the safety of the American people and for the right of the Secretary of State and this administration to make sure that the people in this country deserve to be here, and if they are going to damage our foreign policy, that we're going to be able to remove them.
Tammy Bruce, always great to have you on. Really appreciate it. We look forward to hearing how the talks tomorrow in Iran go. All right, thanks. Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.